This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
Back in the day, I don't know if you remember that, but you know, I brought you. I remember. I think you joined me a couple of times back in those days when you were bringing. I don't know what Cuban fighters.
I've been doing boxing here in South Florida since 1984, so I mean, for sure we did it.
Yeah, no, I know. Which boxers are we talking about? Like in '91, because that's when it was.
Sure. That Jorge Gonzalez days when he came in 1991.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, I remember. We did a show at the Duville Hotel.
There you go.
91.
There you go.
The memories coming together now. You tell me the year.
Yeah. No, I'm looking at boxing gloves right now that Sugar Ray Leonard signed over at the Duville Hotel because I was doing the blow by blow, and he came in and sat down and did the color. And so for me, I was like in heaven, my brother. My favorite boxer of all time comes in. Remember, he was trying to sign some of the Cuban fighters back in those days. You remember that?
Yeah, well, he was my partner. He was my partner with Juan Carlos Gomez.
There you go. That's what it was. There you go.
Yeah, he was my partner with Juan Carlos Gomez. I was in back in the day. Juan Carlos Gomez, me and Ray Leonard had them together promotionally. And we had him fight Samuel Sam on HBO back in the day in Buffalo, New York.
Right. Yeah. So these memories were triggered. And I was like, man, this is so awesome that I get to talk to Lewis again. And I love what you're doing, man. I love that you're bringing boxing back. I love that Hialeah Park, which is a great place to do it, is getting behind it. And the fact that we get to see some of these homegrown talents, you know, straight out of the island. I like that too, man. I think it's a great thing that you're doing, Lewis.
Well, listen, I'm very happy to be back in Hialeah with Frank Fury again, you know, doing fights. I think we've done like 9 of them so far. But I'm very proud that 25 years ago we did Team Freedom Against the World. And it was basically the days of Joel Casamayor, Ramon Garbe, Urelis Hurtado, the Ladone brothers, Samuel Felipe. And they all fought at Barsala. They fought at the Coconut Grove Exhibition Center 25 years ago. So 25 years we've been fighting for this freedom, you know, that now the young people are starting to realize this Patria Vida, guys. And I think for January 28th is going to be great for all the Cubans to unite here for this Patria Vida event with a great main event with a Cuban Olympic fighter, Johnny Aguilares, against a great Venezuelan Olympic, a kid with a 20-1 record, Michael Banquist, a kid that's a tremendous fighter, is promised to be fireworks, probably a pick 'em fight. And that's going to be the main event in Hialeah, you know, Venezuela against Cuba, 2 people that are looking for freedom in their countries, fighting each other, okay, for a cause, okay. At the same time, you know, you got Cuban Olympic, the great Cuban Olympic team of 1917 that was with Morel and Mesa, the De La Torre, the kid 6-0, a real crowd pleaser, you know, banger that comes forward, always trying to make the fight. And he's going to fight a tricky kid from Atlanta named Lawson. He's a 6-0 guy with 3 knockouts. But a good fighter, good boxer. There's the slugger against the boxer. Okay, and that's not enough. I got Oreste Velasquez, a 2-0 Cuban Olympic, and he's getting battle tested against Abraham Martinez, fought on PBC and Fox twice. Okay, 9-0 with 7 knockouts, fighting a Cuban Olympic. And if that's not enough, we got George Romero, a Cuban local fighter here, that's 22-0, and he's fighting a tough Argentinian. So I'm very proud to bring this great card to the Hialeah racetrack and casino. Love working with Frank Fury. You know, he's great to work with. Probably one of the best promoters I ever met. So I'm very happy.
No, and listen, I'm happy too, man, because I get to have a little boxing in my backyard, and obviously I've been a big boxing guy all my life, and you know, it's our sport has taken quite a hit over the years, and you know, you know, the problem we have, Lewis, is that we don't see enough of the great fights, and that's something that we kind of got to bring back a little bit more.
No, you got to bring the fans want to see fights. Nobody wants to come to a fight card where you know who's going to win. You know, that kills boxing. Just like the first of the year, just 2 days ago at the Hard Rock Casino, you saw a great Cuban card. Where Ortiz knocked out Martin, came back from 2 knockdowns. Frank Sanchez winning convincingly, and then you had the 2 Cuban heavyweights, which probably the fight of the night. And then the fans went crazy. We had the same momentum that we had, bring it here to Hialeah with this great Cuban fight. Okay, looking for Patria Vida, looking for a little bit of freedom that we tried 25 years ago, but now the momentum is much stronger.
By the way, I got to ask you, your son, man, he got the bug. Did you expect him to get the bug? When did you know he had the bug? Because obviously he's already done a lot in his own right and accomplished a lot already.
Well, my son, he's been boxing since he was a baby, and he's blessed that he was able to, hang out with guys like Roberto Duran, which I, promoted, and Wilfredo Gomez, Eusebio Pedrosa, Joel Casamaro as a kid. So he learned a lot about, boxing, just hanging out with the great ones. And then in 2005, when he was still a kid, me and Tyson hung out together for a couple of years. So he listened from him. So it says that he was a young kid. He learned. And he's blessed to have, hooked up with Mr. Al Heyman, which to me is probably the smartest guy in the history of boxing. Okay, that's brought more money to the sport than anybody else. And they've done some wonderful things together, and they've done some wonderful things for the Cuban fighters. I got to tell you, they put them all to make money, and they changed a lot of people's lives.
Yeah, no, and listen, I got to say, I'm proud of your entire family, obviously, because several of the members of your family have been involved in boxing. But
my brother
thing that
was involved with me, and we're a boxing family. My wife was the promoter of the year in Puerto Rico in 1997. So my son comes from a boxing family. We used to do shows with Julio Martinez back in the day. He used to put up the chairs and everything. My son, so he knows how to do everything in a promotional type thing.
Yeah, no, I know Julio very well, man. Worked with him for a few years. Very good man.
Great guy. He's going to be helping us for this show. Mm-hmm. And he's a former mayor of Hialeah, and he's a boxing fanatic, and he's really a well-knowledged guy when it comes to boxing. And he's a great promoter. We did a lot of shows together. I told Julio the only time we blew it was when we did that show the 31st of December at the Dubil Hotel. We thought we were going to sell a lot of tickets for Bartholomew and Santiago Samaniego, and we got killed. Nobody came.
Yeah, it was the 31st. Yeah, I remember that. That. But what I was leading to is one of the things that we got to be proud of in a community, and especially in this country, which we all seek freedom, and this is why we're all here to live the lives that we live. But it's got to be the most satisfying thing when you're able to get a Cuban boxer out of that environment and get them into a free environment to allow them to actually get to live their lives and provide for their families the way they want. Yeah. That part has got to be more satisfying than literally watching them fight, right?
Oh, 100%. You take a kid like Morrell, the world champion with 3 professional fights. Now he's 6-0, but David Morrell, the great Cuban amateur, won every tournament. He came in and I had him moved out to Minnesota because that's the Armory was going to be his base. He was going to be fighting out of Minneapolis. Now he sells out the arena, but he was able to go to Minneapolis, with the cold weather and train there. So you got to have the 3 Ds. You got to have dedication, desire, and drive. If you don't have those 3, you're never going to make it. And the kids, for fighters to make it, they got to have that. And now the kids, everybody's talking about him, but he had the desire to do and to go out there, the dedication, go out there and take a shot.
So Lewis, before I let you go, walk me through the ugliest situation that you were in to get a boxer out of Cuba, and maybe you might have been, you might have gotten in trouble, jailed, whatever it was. Walk me through the hairiest situation in your
First of all, I have never, thank God, ever gotten a boxer out of Cuba because I don't operate that way. I've been in boxing 40 years. I had Roberto Duran, had some of the greatest Latin fighters, all the Cuban fighters since the Morrell days. When I wait for them to get here, and then they call me. I don't have to. And David Morrell, he went to Mexico, and I brought him in with a P1 visa. Okay, so that's the business I'm in.
But there are stories. There are stories that they were after you, bro. Like they, you weren't very well liked in circles.
Well, and the only guy they liked me very well was Fidel Castro. He called me a pirate and a gangster because of Jorge Gonzalez in 1991. Because I went and picked him up in Helsinki, Finland. He was a great, Cuban heavyweight that beat Riddick Bowe, Lennox Lewis. And, I started talking, about, we hit him now with a jab, Castro in the chin. Now we're going to hit him with a knock him out when Jorge Gonzalez fights for the world title. I started lipping him, you know what I mean? So I think the old man got pissed off. And he started saying, that I was a gangster and a pirate. That's the only time I had confrontation with the Cuban government, even though I'm totally anti-communist. And, I left there when I was 9 years old looking for freedom. Thank God my dad and my mom were able to take me out of there in 1966. Moved me to Minnesota when I was 9 years old. My dad was a doctor. And, thank God, that they brought me here, because I got to tell you, the worst thing in the world is to live under a communist environment, and when a doctor makes $30 a month, so the whole world's got to realize communism doesn't work. The only thing the communists have done pretty good is lately they've been teaching the Cuban fighters to come forward and make fights. They're not runners anymore. They come forward. So that's the only good thing they've done in the amateur system in the last 3-4 years. They're hunters now. They're not runners. So that's the only good thing they've done.
By the way, one of our listeners is asking, he recently asked Pensacola's own Tommy Kimmins what the Sweet Science needs, and he said his top 3 were 1, more city boxing clubs, 2, unified titles, and 3, boxing on free TV or cable, not pay-per-view. And boy, man, I grew up with free boxing on television as a kid, and that was a lot of fun, man. You know what I mean? As a 55,
well, you got to get a lot of it from You're getting a lot from PBC with Freebie TV. They're giving the fans a lot of free TV, They do the pay-per-views when they have to, but they give them, they put a lot of free fights on. The other day they had a great fight, 2 great fights on free TV on Fox One. And they do that constantly. Morrell's fought on Fox, which is free TV many times. And they're, and that's how the fighters get known, when people see them, watch them for free. That's why the great days of Ray Leonard and all the young fighters coming up, people got to see them on free TV. And when they got to know them, they were able to pay for them, when they fought Tommy Hearns and Marvin Hagler and Roberto Duran, but first they had to get to know them,
Yep. And he said more city boxing clubs. I kind of like that idea. If we could come up with more city boxing clubs, I like that. That's kind of what
100%.
you're trying to do at Hialeah Park now. If we can make that a tradition, that'll be awesome to get something like that going.
Yeah, let me just say one thing to you, okay? The one thing that I agree with that. I think that we got to give more strength to the amateur programs, because the amateur programs in the United States 100% gone down. And that's the reason there's so many, good fighters coming out of, Latin America and the Caribbean, Dominican, Cuba, Puerto Rico. And of course, Mexico has always produced great fighters, because boxing is a sport of poverty. And a lot of these kids, they prefer to play baseball, play basketball, or play football, than box, because when you start out, you don't make very much money. You have to fight a few fights before you become, make money. So it's always been a sport of poverty, with guys that come up from the bottom. That's the reason there's so many great Cuban fighters now, because that's the only way they can make money in Cuba. Either you become a boxer or a baseball player, and they're not, and over there they don't have a chance. So that's why they're coming out of Russia. They're coming out all parts of the world. They're fighting now. These Cuban kids, professional, looking to make money, and that's because in every block of Cuba they have a boxing gym.
Right.
Okay? And that's the reason there's such a small island. It's got so many great fighters.
Yeah, it really is amazing. The great Louis DeCubas. Louis, thank you for taking some time. We'll see you.
Thank you, guys. Remember now, January 28th.
I'll be there.
Hialeah Racetrack and Casino. It's going to be a great night. Boxing, Patria Vida, great Cuban card. All the great young Cuban guys who just came over looking for freedom are going to be fighting. And it's going to be a great night of boxing. Okay, we got ring size 200, and you can get a ticket for 30. So I hope everybody comes out.
All right, we'll be there, and we'll be broadcasting live. So we'll definitely talk to you on fight night, and we'll have you on, and we're gonna have a great time, man, with boxing in South Florida and boxing at Hialeah Park, man. It's going to be awesome. Louis,
thank you guys. I appreciate it. And I'd like to also thank Frank Fury. Always great for boxing. Always done a lot of shows here. It's been great for the Cuban boxing too. Well, thank you very much, guys. Bye-bye.
Amen. Un abrazo. Be good. There you go, Louis. Thank you, my friend. Louis DeCubas, man. Wow. That's a legend right there, buddy. That's a legend. That's a freaking legend right there.